Hey guys, Randy Potato here with the Hero Guide for the Hellion. We'll discuss their unique skills, hero paths and trinkets, and the different builds you can use with this character, and in what types of parties and scenarios they will thrive. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to subscribe. I post new content every day. The Hellion is an elite front rank DPS with incredible range, second only to the Highwayman. Her premier path, Ravager, is among the strongest overall paths in the game. She also has two other interesting paths that completely change how she plays. Let's start with a path overview. Ravager gives Hellion a 20% boost to max HP and 25% to damage if in rank 1. In exchange, you lose 33% bleed chance and a 25% chance to bleed yourself at the start of your turn. Berserker makes you lose 20% max HP and gain 20% deathblow resist, 33% bleed application chance, and 10% crit to your bleed attacks. Carcass Hellion generates a winded token every turn, and at turn end has a 75% chance to generate a block token for each winded token you have. When crit, the Hellion has a 50% chance of losing 1 stress, and a 25% chance of losing 2 stress. Wicked Hack now removes block, and Barbaric Yawp gives you 2 taunt tokens. Now onto skills. Wicked Hack is a basic front 2 rank to front 2 rank melee attack that does 48 damage, 6 to 10 on upgrade, and an extra 50% damage on combo. Out of all the base attacks in the game, this is one of, if not the strongest, especially when you factor in combo chance. It can be further boosted by Ravager and removes block with Carcass. Not a lot to say here, it's a powerful front rank attack that fits on every DPS Hellion bar, which should be how you run your Hellion. Iron Swan is a rank 1 to rank 4 attack that does 48 damage, 6 to 10 on upgrade, and applies combo on upgrade. The strongest rank 4 targeting ability that doesn't require any setup or cooldown. The skill is vital for all Hellion comps in taking down rank 4 enemies, which is important in a large variety of fights, most notably against the Librarian and the Act 2 boss. The combo generation is also quite powerful, and along with the elite 2-point average damage buff makes this a priority upgrade. Again, it's boosted by Ravager and usually nerfed by Carcass. The downside is obviously that the positioning is restrictive for you, demanding that you be in rank 1 to use this ability. In most Hellion builds, I'll pair her with a hero who can move themselves back to accommodate the Hellion, and or bring someone like the Jester who can move heroes himself. This should go on every Hellion bar except weird comps that put her in rank 2 for some reason, which is an inferior playstyle. Barbaric Yawp is a front rank to front rank AoE non-damaging debuff, ignoring and removing stealth, while applying a weak token. The upgrade is quite powerful, applying 2 weak tokens and stunning on combo. The cooldown is 1 turn, and each use gives Hellion a winded token. Carcass Path also gives this ability Taunt, making it a quite good tank ability, and it's unaffected by the other paths. Stealth is pretty niche still in Darkest Dungeon 2, and a solitary weak token is generally never worth winding yourself, so unmastered this is an absolute garbage skill for most comps. Even mastered, if you're running DPS Hellion, which you should be running, this skill has absolutely no room on your bar, even if AoE double weak along with stun chance makes this one of the most powerful upgrades in the game. If however you are running Carcass for some reason, this is an absolute staple skill that is a priority upgrade, potentially even in 1. If it bleeds as a single target bleed attack usable from ranks 2 or 3 against ranks 2 or 3. It does 2 to 4 damage, 3 to 5 on upgrade, and 2 points of bleed, 3 on upgrade. On upgrade, it also eats your combo tokens, ignoring 30% bleed resist on the enemy in exchange. It gets a crit and application chance boost with Berserker, and is unaffected by other paths, except doing less, even sometimes 0 damage on Carcass with Winded. This is a worthless, unequipable skill in basically every scenario. Both the damage and the bleed dot are a complete joke, and the positional restrictions are stupid for how pathetic this so-called attack is. Even if for some reason you want to run a bleed build Hellion with Berserker, you'd much rather use the similarly restrictive bleed out, which is far more powerful. Just don't ever put this on your bar unless you're memeing a mid-rank Hellion for whatever reason. Toe-to-Toe is a front 3 to front 2 rank attack that does 2 to 4 damage, 3 to 5 on upgrade, moves Hellion forward, immobilizes you, and adds taunt tokens. On upgrade, the skill clears Winded. This is a handy little ability that has the utility to go on every Hellion build. If you're running a DPS build, this is a priority upgrade to be able to do both damage and remove your winded tokens. On Carcass, this is a skill with no cooldown that gives your Hellion taunt, although you want to leave the skill unmastered in this case to utilize the Winded token buff. Even unmastered, this skill goes on your standard Hellion builds in order to fix positioning, and the Immobilize is useful to plant her in the front rank where she belongs. It also does just enough damage to be able to check that store in most scenarios, though usually not with the Carcass builds. Adrenaline Rush is a self-heal skill and buff usable from any rank once you reach below 33% max HP. The skill immediately heals you 20%, 25% on upgrade, and removes your bleed, removing all your dots when mastered. It also removes your Winded tokens while giving you a buff that gives you an additional 20% heal whenever you use an attack for the next 3 turns. Notably, you also gain a heal when using an enemy targeting combat item, and this procs for each enemy you target, making AoEs ridiculously powerful heals. It has a 3-turn cooldown. This is an absolutely absurd self-sustained skill that fits on every bar, except maybe Carcass because of the Winded clear. Not only is it a nice simple direct heal and dot clear, but the gain health on attack will keep your Hellion healthy for the duration of most fights, and the Winded clear is great for putting your DPS Hellion back in the fight. The all dot clear is a nice buff, but not necessary since bleed is the most common dot you will face, so this is generally just a late game upgrade. Slap this skill on every DPS bar, and turn your Hellion into an unkillable behemoth. It's unlocked at Hellion's final shrine. Bleed Out is a rank 1 to rank 1 bleed nuke, doing 4 to 8 damage, 6 to 9 on upgrade, and 4 bleed, 6 on upgrade. Mastered, it ignores 30% bleed resist on combo. It also gives Hellion a Winded token. It's strongly boosted by Berserker. This skill is quite powerful, and the best use for a bleed Hellion build, but the Winded makes this a no-go in any direct DPS comp, and the positional restrictions are suffocating. With no cooldown, you can absolutely melt the front rank and boss enemies with the bleed, so if you do decide to run a Berserker build, go all in with a bleed team and head to the Shroud to pick up the bleed trophy to scale this ability to the stars. Outside of this still relatively weaker and niche path, this skill is trash because of the restrictions and the Winded. Just howl and hack instead. It's unlocked at Hellion's first shrine. Bloodlust is a self-buff usable from the front 3 ranks that removes your Winded tokens while giving you 20% extra damage against bleeding targets, 30% on upgrade. This is a fantastic early game ability to clear your Winded tokens before you can afford an upgrade to toe-to-toe. Outside of this, it's a very garbage niche ability with a trash upgrade. Bleed Hellion herself does very little overall damage, and this is too slow to alternate with Bleed Out. With a lot of setup, the skill can eventually deliver enough damage to be relevant if you, say, pair her with a Jester with Slice Off, but it just doesn't fit on your DPS bar with these extremely niche scenarios, and is obviously entirely unusable with Carcass. It's unlocked at Hellion's second shrine. Breakthrough is a front 3 rank AoE usable from the back 2 ranks that does 1 to 2 damage, 2 to 3 on upgrade, moves Hellion forward 1, and gives her a Winded token. It also has a 1-turn cooldown for some reason, and on upgrade it also ignores and removes guard, which seems dumb and irrelevant since AoE already ignores guard if both guard targets are in the AoE range. This is arguably the worst skill in the entire game, never equipable in any scenario for any reason. You already have a forward movement ability that actually does something. It's not even a good skill for really fixing positioning since it has a cooldown. Just never bother using this skill and you'll be happy. It's unlocked at Hellion's 4th hero shrine. Raucous Revelry is another sustain move, usable from any position that affects your entire party. If Hellion is under 33% max HP, you get a 20% heal, 25% on upgrade. You remove 2 stress on yourself, 3 on upgrade, and 1 stress on all your allies for every target at or above 5 stress. This also removes self-horror and on upgrade boosts Hellion's death store by 10%. It has a 1-turn cooldown and gives Hellion a Winded token. For DPS Hellion, Adrenaline Rush is usually better. The party stress heal is cool, but the problem is a stress heal of 1 only pushes you down to 4 stress at best, which is the level where negative interactions start happening. It's really only an emergency equip if you find yourself in a region with a highly stressed team, but never use Hellion as your primary stress relief. On Carcass, however, this is an incredible ability. It's especially good for her tanking when you master Revelry and can use it to boost your DBR. The self-horror and stress relief along with the deathblow resist boost makes your Carcass basically hard counter the Act 3 boss, which is really the only scenario I've ever found where Carcass is really relevant. It's unlocked at Hellion's 3rd shrine. Howling End is your front rank to front rank Giga Nuke, doing 8 to 14 damage, 10 to 18 on upgrade, that ignores block and guard on upgrade, and gives Hellion a Winded token. It has a 3-turn cooldown, 2 on upgrade. This is the strongest single target nuke in the game, without counting the necessary combo for Finale. It's an absolute staple of every DPS Hellion build, even with the long cooldown. It's an absolute priority upgrade. It's strongly boosted by Ravager, which is the only Hellion path you should really run. Of course, you need a way to clear Winded, but with the cooldown, you should have no trouble getting rid of Winded while you wait for this skill to come online again. Not really much else to say. The skill has an incredible raw damage, which makes it very easy to scale, especially against bosses. It's unlocked at Hellion's final shrine. Now onto trinkets. Bloodied Branch gives you a strength token when you crit with a melee ability 66% of the time, buffs if it bleeds dot by 33%, and gives you 2 stress if you're pushed to rank 4 and move forward. Like all Hellion trinkets, the buffs are a random mishmash of junk that doesn't really work together. If it bleeds is a pathetic ability, and lightly buffing it doesn't change that fact. Hellion has a quite modest crit rate, and the fact that the strength token is not guaranteed make the effect very marginal. It's certainly equipable in that it has effectively only positive effects, but it's never something you'll want to carry to the boss. Empty Stein is another awkward trinket that gives a 66% chance at a strength token when you use Barbaric Yawp, a 25% boost in damage when bleeding, and a 25% chance of a weak token when you resist a bleed. Let's disregard the Yawp effect right away, since you're basically only using Yawp on a Carcass build, and getting the winner token makes this chance of the strength token basically a wash in damage. The rest of the trinket is obviously made for Ravager. This is actually a pretty strong boost, though the random weak tokens are quite frustrating, and in a lot of cases you want the consistency over the flat damage. It's definitely equipable over nothing, but is a mid-level trinket that I would be extremely cautious about bringing with me to the mountain. Rotten Tomato gives a 33% chance of applying combo on breakthrough, 25% damage in rank 2, while you lose 25% death blow resist in rank 1. This is an absolute trash tier trinket that has no business ever being equipped. Not a single competent player has ever unironically equipped breakthrough, so the rather impressive AoE combo chance is irrelevant. As for the rest, anytime you're running DPS Hellion, you're running her as a Ravager. That gives her the same 25% buff in rank 1. So this DPS trinket entirely contradicts the guaranteed DPS path. If you're running a rank 2 Hellion, you're either memeing with Carcass, or even worse, if it bleeds Hellion, and thus don't care at all about the damage. Just always throw this in the trash without thinking. There has never been a positive use case in the history of Darkest Dungeon 2. Now on to deeper discussion of Hellion's 3 paths and what skills and trinkets to use with them, and what team comps they work best with. Ravager Hellion is her premier path, and arguably the strongest DPS path in the game. Of course, you need to find a way to lock her into one, either with the Immobilized trophy or heroes capable of moving back, although she can fix her own positioning with toe-to-toe, so this one weakness is not too significant. The downsides to this path are minimal, given that you never care about the bleed application deduction because you never use bleed skills on this path, and the self-bleed, while annoying, is countered by her buffed HP and Adrenaline Rush. As for skills, to fully take advantage of the scaling damage buff, I always run Howling End, complemented by toe-to-toe, which is a priority upgrade, often in one depending on the rest of your team. I always run Iron Swan. That reaches the whole reason you run Hellion in the first place. Wicked Hack is generally an equip as well, giving you another strong front rig attack to use while waiting for Howl to come off cooldown. Adrenaline Rush is usually my last equip. It's a powerhouse ability that removes Winded and also provides sustain for the next 3 turns. Yawp, Breakthrough, if it bleeds, and Bleed Out are all useless trash, unequipable in any scenario. Bloodlust is an okay situational equip if you do not yet have toe-to-toe upgraded, although generally I'll stick with toe just for the movement benefits. Revelry wins you, which is usually a no-go for your primary DPS, but sometimes in a pinch you'll equip this before a fight if you need extra stress recovery. Ravager is the best rank 4 nuker in the game, and thus a fantastic fit for any team against a number of Lair and Act bosses, specifically the Act 2 boss and the Librarian. Obviously she needs to be in rank 1, but she's superior to every other DPS in this position, so it's fine. Really only ever conflicts with Leper, who you prefer to be in rank 1 for Intimidate and Purge. This is the only real way to play Hellion. It's mind-numbingly straightforward, but extremely powerful. Berserker has one major problem, among a host of smaller problems. The Hellion's 2 inferior bleed abilities conflict with each other, one available from rank 1 and one from 2 or 3. Why you would ever want Hellion in 3, I don't know. If it bleeds, it's pitiful damage all around, so if you're running Bleed Hellion, you have to be rank 1, and your Bleed Out nuke only hits rank 1, making it extremely restrictive, best against big bosses. This build is always inferior to Ravager, but can find a modest amount of value in a pure dot, preferably bleed build, forcing Leviathan for the bleed trophy, which would make bleed out a quite powerful 12x3 dot with a respectable crit rate. We'll ignore the theoretical mid-rank if it bleeds build and talk about the rank 1 bleed skills. Bleed out is an obvious equip. I usually take Swan for the range. It's still quite strong if you're facing a rank 4 mob that needs to be eliminated first, before you start winning yourself with bleed out. Adrenaline Rush is always a strong equip on any build. Revelry is also a good equip here since you're self-winding with bleed out anyways, although you still want a real stress healer as a companion. Bloodlust is cute, but in most scenarios it's actually inferior damage over just spamming bleed out over and over and stacking dots. Still, with so many skills made weaker on this path, you can usually fit this on your bar. I keep toe-to-toe as well just to fix positioning. This path is a poor fit for most comps, really only usable in a pure dot comp. The problem with this setup is you still need a tank with this team. The increased DBR is nice, but still not reliable for tanking, since Hellion doesn't generate block on this path and her HP is nuked for some reason. Overall, purely a meme build at this point. It's restricted to rank 1 just like Ravager, but being far, far worse. Carcass is probably the most interesting path in the game in how it completely changes the Hellion's playstyle. Unfortunately, turning this hero into a pure tank incapable of doing damage makes her inferior to the other tank builds in this game, especially since she only generates regular block and not block plus. Her buffs make her singularly suited for the Act 3 boss since she gets stress healed on crit and has non-damaging taunt along with weakness, but she's still inferior to any man-at-arms build with stand fast. Let's go over the kit. Yawp is an auto-equip, and it's quite powerful now that you don't care about the winded token, granting you taunt, weakness, and stun on upgrade, while the extra winded token can convert to block. Revelry is equally good, giving you an extra stress heal again without worrying about the winded. You still want a real stress healer to pair with her, since she can only knock your ally stress to 4, which is a negative interaction threshold. Toe-to-toe is also a good equip and a skill you never want upgraded, so you can gain even more taunt tokens while Yawp is on cooldown. I usually put Adrenaline Rush on my bar as well. The heal utility is just insane even if you lose your winded stack. The final move I like is Bleed Out, giving you a way to do damage even while winded and stacking winded tokens even faster for more block. If you have to run Carcass in rank 2 for whatever reason, if it bleeds is usable if you really stretch the meaning of the term. Breakthrough can theoretically be equipped if you find Rotten Tomato, though there are still better trinkets. As for fit, you can play in ranks 1 or 2, unlike earlier paths, but this build is actually more team restrictive since you need to pair her with a real stress healer along with some powerhouse DPS to make up for the fact that she does 0 damage. This build is a meme and not usable in any real run, but I will admit it is fun to play with for a challenge. Overall, while the Hellion is pretty restrictive and not at all versatile, only having one real path and build, Ravager, she's an absolute powerhouse DPS in that role. Being capable of nuking positions 1, 2, and most importantly 4, she is a great addition for any team against any boss. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I post new videos every day.